It's actually a no-brainer for me. First, I'd get a dog, but then a dog is not exotic, so I would get a lion. But I would
No
also
brainer.
get, many hundreds of acres of land so that that lion could not be super miserable its whole life. But yeah, definitely a lion. They're just amazing. They're so beautiful. I love big cats in general,
Hmm.
but I don't know. I have a thing for lions. You know, those like Instagram clips or like video YouTube clips or whatever of people who like raise this lion as a cub and then they go back to the Sahara and they see the lion and the lion remembers them. And I'm just like, I can't handle those stories. I'm like, I want a lion. So that's me. That's what I would do for sure.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. We are here on the Cool Table. My name is Adriel Smiley, aka Adriel Smiley Official, aka AdrielSmiley.com, aka The Godfather. Now here today we are in the cut with Iamhill.
What's up? Good to see you.
It's a pleasure to have you with us. I got the pleasure of hearing the project early, and once I heard the project, I was like, this is like an automatic. Got to chop it up. Got to see how this went down. This is probably like I'm gonna say a dumb question because you've answered this to some degree before, but I do not think it's Sellout when I hear this album, and so I think it's a very interesting a very interesting title for that reason because I when you hear Sellout, the kind of music I think of, I'm not gonna name names, but it's
Hmm.
definitely not this. So
I see
tell
what you're
people why
saying.
Sellout is a good title.
Well, it's not the whole album, but a lot of the album is very tongue in cheek, right? So Sellout is kind of like, it's more like the antithesis of Sellout. You know what I mean? The whole album is kind of making a jab at the concept of selling out and like why people would sell out and just like how ridiculous all of those reasons are.
You have like a lot of answers on here for questions that I feel like people are not always want to ask in terms of
Mhm.
like the value of music, how we talk about it, how we talk about artists now. Like, was there something that happened that made you want to dive into that so much, or was there someone you thought of?
Um, I think it was all just personal experience. I moved to LA, and I was experiencing LA culture for the first time. That was like about 8 months into my living in LA that I made this album. And also just had been having a lot of conversations about label deals and how they work, and conversations about how you land a label deal, which is to basically whore yourself out on social media. Don't get me wrong, it can be really fun and some people are very good at it and I respect that. But it's a game, it's a game and you have to be willing to play that game. And then there's, just the whole the whole premise of pop culture and celebrity culture. I think celebrity culture is taking some interesting turns lately, but I think it was just me going headfirst into that. I grew up in a city, but a small city in northern Canada, and being in the US, really, I felt like I was really submerged in it, and it. I think this album was just me getting all that shit off my chest.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying about like you kind of got to whore yourself out for social media like that because it's funny. It seems like that's the way that they tell everyone to do it, and I feel really bad for the people who it's like they do it even though they don't want to. You know, I spoke to Alan Raymond about his project, and he was saying that we have to just believe that good music is good enough. You know, and there's a huge
I wish. I
that
wish.
that's what I thought of when I thought of your project because like I love that's why I wanted to chop it up, but it's clear that that's what you think. Like there's so much
Mm,
different ways to go on this project where it's like there could be a way that someone likes this song but totally hates this song, and I like that idea of it's like I'm not trying to please everyone on this. Like, do you feel
mhm.
that in yourself? Because I feel like the idea of good music can still be good enough. Do you feel that like yo, listen, what I'm doing is good enough that the rest is just kind of up to the universe, so to speak.
That's exactly how I feel, and that's how I like to approach it. There, I've never I remember even being, you know, an early in my like songwriting experience, I caught myself writing things that I thought my family would like, and things that I thought that they would, they would approve of, I guess. And as soon as I put that down and decided to only make music that I love, everything started to work for me just creatively. um you know who knows what the definition of success is in a music career these days, right? It's very, it's all over the map. But as a creative, for sure, I had to completely stop caring what other people think and completely trust my instincts. And I think it's done me well, just because I like my albums. I think that counts for something. I honestly do.
But it should you're the one who has
Yeah.
to live with it more than anybody, so it should.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the number of times I listen to those songs, it's like if you don't like if you don't like it, you are in serious trouble.
For sure,
So,
for sure. um I want to ask you about side B. I have some actual lyrics to ask you about, but my question is, has anyone hit you up about that song?
this is so funny. So here's a fun story about this. My
Mm.
partner's mom is this very sweet, very lovely lady, and I guess his sister was having a conversation with her. I don't know, last month or something, and she had heard the song, and she was asking his sister, like, "Do you think that song is about him? That song?" I
That's
couldn't handle it. So
hilarious.
I've had people ask me about this. That song is about nobody. That song, I wrote
Mm.
that song as, I remember writing the first like line, and I work with Mike a lot, who's also worked with John Orpheus, who I think has been on here, and I was just like, I don't know, this is what's happening in my brain right now, so I think we have to write it. And it's like amazing. Anything, we love to write blissfully ignorant pop
Mhm.
music when we can. So that's all it is. I think it's saying something. It's saying like I have the right to do what I want until we have an agreement, and we, whatever that agreement is, because I think it should be unique per
Mhm.
individuals coming together. But also, it's just kind of like that song doesn't fucking mean anything, and that's what I like about it. That's what I like about it.
I thought it was so interesting because this sounds like the type of song that someone will assume it's about them and it's not
Mm,
about them. So I thought that, and I
hmm
thought it was extra funny for that reason, because sometimes that song is like, oh, whoever that's about, I feel bad for that guy. But this is a
Yeah,
song
well,
where it's like there's some guy wishing this is about him, low key.
yeah, right. Yeah, right. I know the guy I was dating at the time. He's in LA still. Well, Texas and LA, and he took it on the chin. He was like, "Okay, this is the song you wrote. Fine, okay."
Yeah, all right.
So props to him. Props to him, because he was just
Yeah,
like, "It's fine."
b-
So he
b-
needs
yeah,
to.
big shout out to him. This is one of my favorite lines from the whole project, but it's on side D. You said, "You act like I owe you something just for looking at me." I thought that was a really heavy line. Talk about that one.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, this is like a very common. As women, we get yelled at walking down the street, right? So I've had an experience before where I just like looked at the guy because he had his window down. He was yelling at me. We were on a residential street, and he was at a four-way stop. So the guy looked like a fucking idiot. And I just looked at him and like kind of shook my head. And you should say thank you. And it's like, I don't owe you. And the number of times I've gotten that kind of attitude from people who, and it's not just men, right? But it's just people who think that them paying you attention means that you should be grateful. But that's such bullshit.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought of when I heard that line, and I like the way you said it in the song, because I'm like, that's such a wild way to think, and the way you described it, as in like, you think I owe you something just for looking at me, that really encapsulated like the word audacity, and sometimes it's like
Mm-hmm.
you need to be like, really the audacity for it to go that far. So I feel like you explained
Thanks.
audacity in the non-dictionary way,
Yeah.
absolutely
Good
perfect.
word. Yeah, that's a perfect word for it.
What would you call this project a soundtrack for? I like to think of albums as like, this is what I would drive to, or what I would get ready to,
Mm.
or things like that. Is there like an activity that you put with this project? Because this is a project I can honestly say I have no idea what the activity is for this one. So I came to the source. Do you have something in mind for that?
This is such a cool question. Um, some of these songs are easily workout jams. Some of these songs are like sex music. Some of these songs are party music. Like some of them, I can hear them playing at a club. But ultimately, it feels just like night music. Like whatever it is
Mm,
you're getting up to, whether you're at home and you're just like getting high by yourself, or you're at a party with friends and you want to fucking get crazy. There's side D, and but it's like it goes really far in different directions, and a lot of it feels really introspective too. So being at home listening to it by yourself, there's tracks that might feel right, just to kind of explore your own interpretation of it, kind of thing. I like to do that with music. I like to listen. One of my biggest influences over the last few years was Banks. I guess more like around 2017 through 2018. And that's how I listen to her music. I listen to her music if I need to if I want to be in a mood, if I feel like I want to, um, exercise, and not exercise, but like exercise, get
yeah.
something out of my system. So I feel like this is a good album for that too. Like if you have something you need to get out, like
Mhm.
this is a good album to help you access whatever those emotions are and just kind of let it rip. I think that would maybe be a good thing.
Listen, I think that's an activity you need an album for. I
I think
had
so too.
someone I knew said, like, I have an album that I cry to, and I thought to myself, I don't have a go-to album to
Shit.
cry to. When it's time to cry, I gotta kind of scramble to throw something on. So this is like the
Mm,
step before that. Maybe it's not an album to cry to, but you got something you got to get out. You need
yeah.
something for that. So no, I think it's very very useful. You talked about starting the project or doing the whole project in LA. What was the first song that you did? Like, what was the song that started it? Be like, okay, this is how we're going with it.
What was the first song? I want to look at my track listing because I don't actually know. I feel like there was probably a song on this record that kind of happened outside of the like there was like a block of time during which we kind of made the album. But let's see here. Okay, here's my track listing. Maybe Sellout side B. I need to cry comedy. I know which one happened last, and it's not out yet. It's on the album. The first one might have been. It might have been Sellout, actually,
Interesting.
because I remember I wasn't sure if I wanted Sellout to be on the album, but Mike was really, really bullish on it. So we kept it. But for a while, I was like, I don't know if I need this, but it kind of set the tone for the whole album, and obviously now it's the title of the album. But yeah, that would be the one. It's not
Interesting.
out yet. It's
Interesting.
part of. It's not even a single, right? But
Hmm.
I think that's part of the first one. So the
That's
groundwork.
interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, I always find it interesting to find out what the first song made is, because it's like you're starting the destination and where the album ends up going. It's this
Mm-hmm.
interesting to see, where
Mm-hmm.
that starting point is. Now you've done a lot with NFTs, and I want you to kind of give me like a little crash course, and this is for all the independent artists who are listening to this podcast, watching this video, because I think that, not no secret, the music industry is doing some crazy things, and people are people are not getting kind of paid correctly for their work. And NFTs, by the grace of God, are kind of helping that change a little bit. So for all the people who have heard about it and not sure, the independent artists who want to kind of make that work for themselves, give them a little crash course here.
Sure. I would say NFTs are not like the answer, but they are a potential answer. And I think blockchain technology could potentially make our lives much, 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 much better. I've been a part of minting 3 NFTs now. One was with another artist called Nymphea. The second one was my own NFT, which I minted on Catalog Works. And I've bought 2 as well. The third one is it's like midway through. I haven't actually listed it yet, but it's up on Catalog. So I will be listing it probably like July after the album drops. So here's my take on music artists entering the NFT space. There are a handful of platforms that you're going to want to look at. Sound XYZ is has a high barrier of entry. Catalog Works has a mid to high barrier of entry. I would say mid, but you know, they're curating their space. And then I think you can mint music. I should really check this out. I think there's a few other minting platforms for music, and maybe Zora is an option, but here's what I think. If you have the means, because the problem is it costs money to mint, right? It's not free. And it's not the kind of price that you're paying with like TuneCore or CD Baby. It's more. Depends on what gas prices are at the moment that you're minting. So it's not just a walk in the door and see what happens game. You know, you have to invest in it. You have to make sure you're prepared to be in the space, because if you mint something and then you never participate in the spaces, you never go on, you know, you never check out any Twitter spaces, you never, you know, see what communities are out there, or like try going on Discord, then there's not too much reason for you to be minting, because most of the goal is community, because Web3 is all about ownership, right? So if you want to encourage ownership of, whether that's you encouraging someone to own your NFT or join a DAO that is linked to your artist project, or, you know, somehow participate in your project, because that's really the goal. That's what it is. If somebody buys your NFT, they have stake in your project. They've fund, you know, it's like you have a Patreon, like a high-tech Patreon. And so if you're not engaged in that somehow, then I would encourage you to focus on what you are engaged in, you know, because everybody's got their own lane. And if you prefer Web2, if you prefer Instagram, if your fans are on Instagram, don't leave just for the sake of minting an NFT. It's so early in the game. Like there's no rush. This is the long game, you know, and the technology is morphing and it's improving and it's got a ways to go, you know, like this is not a done deal. It could all go to zero. We don't know. We have no guarantee. So I think if you have the financial means to try it, and you have the time on your hands and the willingness to participate in those communities that are on Twitter and Discord, etc., then you should go for it, because it can put the power back in the hands of the artist. If they find unique ways to build community around them, if they know how to give back to the community, it can give back. And I love the idea that artists set their own prices. That's something that, you know, I think the way that art is valued in our society is very strange. And obviously as a musician, I think about music the most. So this is one thing that I really love about the NFT game, is you can set your own prices. But if you're not participating and engaging people and you know, finding ways to be authentic and join in other communities and support other artists yourself, whether that's just being around them or investing in other people's art, if you have the means, again, then that's a good way to go. I would say it's worth giving it a shot.
Two things that you said that really, I think, are helpful, talking about power and community. And I think that is the real thing that I feel like the music industry and what you said about how they just deal with art in general has really changed the way community feels with an artist. And so I think that, you know, whatever you can do, you know, in your own way to bring that back, I think is the most important. You know, even thinking about the artists that I was huge fans of as like a kid and a teenager compared to the artists I'm huge fans of as an adult. It's like it's even hard for me to be as much of a fan. I may love their music just as much, but it's like I don't even have the avenue to be as much of a fan. So yeah,
Totally.
the power I think is important.
Yeah, celebrity culture is shifting a lot for sure. And the way that we have access to people is shifting, right? So it's all about managing that and understanding how much value there is in like real relationships, you know, like it's a very different thing.
Yes. Man, celebrity culture is a crazy place. You're absolutely right about that. And LA is the craziest of them all. I gave you a heads up earlier about some questions we had, and it is coming to that time. Now, they say the top 5 people in your life help make you who you are. Define what your future is going to be. So who are the top 5 people in your life who help you be you? Your top 5 can be a 2 or your top 5 can be a 10, but who are the people in your life who help you be you?
I mean, obviously it starts with the parents, right? My parents are both very open-minded, very supportive. You you know, no parents are perfect, but mine really did everything they could to support me and help me, learn more about music and study music as I grew up. I don't take that for granted. So that's a big one. Um, Definitely was always really strongly encouraged by my best friend, who's still my best friend. We met in like grade 10, and she always wanted to hear whatever I was making or writing. And she had, she's just like the most generous person, and she just always wanted to hear things, and she was always excited about things, and that helped me be excited about my really early stuff, which makes a huge difference. And then I would say I've worked with Mike for years now. Mike Schlosser is my most frequent collaborator and producer. We've designed a sound pack together. We've done a ton of work together, and he's really great at creating a safe space for people when they're writing. And he's really eloquent himself, which has made a big difference in my ability to, pump out content, because it's not all on me. He contributes so much to the writing part as well. So I would say that's been really formulative for me as a writer and an artist. I also have my mixing engineer, Brad Smith. He's always been a big part of my music career from day one as well. He introduced me to Mike, actually. And he's always been very like, he loves to encourage female producers. Both Mike and Bradley are always very big about like, you should do it because you can do it. And like, if you can do it, then you should do it. Don't go pay some dude to do it. Like, you have the skills, you can do it, you should try to do it. And that really was a huge launching point for me as well. In terms of like style, because I think style is really important. I think having good taste is really important. I had a manager named Michelle, and she actually worked mostly in fashion PR when I worked with her. And we only worked together for about a year, I would say. But in that time, I learned a lot about fashion and about style and about authenticity and about presenting yourself. And she helped me think about branding in a way that didn't make me annoyed. So that was also really formative for me, I think, because when I hear the word branding, I'm like what? I'm a human. I'm not a brand, but it's real. If you want to cultivate a universe as an artist, it's a brand. That's what that is. And you can do it in a way that feels really authentic and really cool and really interesting, right? To you. You just have to take the time to look at every angle and curate the pieces of the culture that you're seeing around you that suit you and that are true to you, So that was a big one for me too. I think that's a pretty good list right there,
That list sounds solid to me. You got the people
Yeah.
holding you down. And that thing you said about branding, I think, is huge, because branding is like, hearing brand times makes me cringe.
Me too.
And you're like, it's a person. So to have someone make you feel good enough that it doesn't feel like that, no small feat at all.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm interested to see where you're going to take this question. You gave a little bit before we started recording about where you're thinking about going, so I'm going to see where you end up. But I want to say before this question starts, I don't make the rules. These are the rules that society has given us. I don't make them. When you get $100 million, you clearly have to buy an exotic animal. Mike Tyson with his tiger, Justin Bieber with his monkey, Michael Jackson with his monkey. It just seems like once you get $100 million, that's where your life is set to go. So when you get $100 million, what animal are you bringing into your life?
It's actually a no-brainer for me. First, I'd get a dog, but then a dog is not exotic. So I would get a lion. But I would also get many hundreds of acres of land so that lion could not be super miserable its whole life. But yeah, definitely a lion. They're just amazing. They're so beautiful. I love big cats in general, but I don't know. I have a thing for lions. Those like Instagram clips or like video YouTube clips or whatever of people who like raise this lion as a cub, and then they go back to the Sahara and they see the lion and the lion remembers them. And I'm just like, I can't handle those stories. I'm like, I want a lion. So that's me. That's what I would do for sure.
That's big vibes though. I picture like having a lion on your property and you just look out the window and it's just, posted up. That's such a vibe, and then when it's on its good behavior, you can come in the backyard when we have a barbecue,
Yeah, right. Yeah. Good luck with that.
I think you're the first person to say a lion for sure. I think,
Really?
yeah, I feel like someone said a baby tiger. So
Okay.
that's the closest, but a lion,
That's
and
interesting.
and that's probably the most ferocious animal I think that anyone has said for sure.
Yeah, they're deadly for
Yeah,
sure.
beautiful but deadly.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that I'm sure someone has that tatted on them somewhere.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
this is the last one. We do a segment on the show called Wednesday Wisdom, looking for a
Mhm.
motivational quote or saying that either you remind yourself of or you share with the people around you. So what's that for you? That motivational quote or saying that you just always trying to remind yourself of?
Don't be afraid of being bad at something. Don't not do something because you don't want to be bad at it. Do it and be bad at it and be proud of the fact that you're bad at it, but you did it anyway. Because then the next time you do it, you'll be less bad at it. And the next time you do it, you'll be even less bad at it. Just don't be afraid of being bad at things. It's like, it's hard. I have to remind myself every day, you know, I learn something every day. Um, and it's all just, I have to put my ego down and like, yeah, I suck at this. That's fine. I'm going to do it anyway. So,
No, I think that's a huge one, especially for little things. I think that
mm,
that's something cool that comes to mind when you think about trying something new, starting a new project. But there could be little things in your life that you just may not know how to do well, or some people can't cook a certain dish or something like that. And
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah,
okay for you to, try and make that messy rice over and over again,
yeah.
like no, I think that one's huge. For me, there's a point when I couldn't use a lighter. And I was like a wee pup saying, "Want to light this for me? Can someone light this for me?"
Oh,
Yeah, I know it was rough. And then I had a friend who just said, "You're gonna have to figure this out, man. I can't take you places, and you have
that's
this
a good
big old."
friend.
Yeah, no, he
Yeah.
was right. I was embarrassing him. I was looking a little crazy, so I had to get over that one, figure it out, and
Mm,
I had to be okay with being bad at using a lighter. So it's the
mhm.
little things and the big things. I want to thank you for joining us. It's been an incredible conversation. I want to shout out your painting in the background.
Oh,
I've been eyeing it
yeah.
this whole time.
Calvin and Hobbes.
I haven't seen
Yeah,
those
my
guys in
buddy
a long
Travis.
time.
My buddy Travis custom made that for me.
No, that's
Travis
a
Nesbitt,
gem.
you can look him up. I know. I have a bunch of his art here actually.
No,
Big
that's a
time.
that's a gem. Yeah. Hopefully I can get his
Mhm.
information afterwards. But yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure. Um,
Yeah.
where do
Back
you
at you.
where do you want people to tap in to support you? Is it your Instagram, your website? Like, where do you want people to really, really head if they want to get in touch and want to support you?
Well, I would love to dictate that, but I feel like everybody's got their own platform that they like. So I'm not going to ask someone, like I would say Twitter, but lots of people don't use Twitter and then lots of people don't use Instagram. So just find me wherever because I'm on all the things. I'm on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, I_am_Hill. Um, yeah, just, Spotify, Apple Music, whatever you want, do it your way. It's all good.
Anywhere you can find someone on social media on the interwebs, she's there. I want to thank everyone for making it to this part of the podcast. You know what to do. Leave a rating and a review. 5 stars, not a single star less. Make sure you subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. All episodes of In the Cut and The Cool Table can be found at adrielsmiley.com. And of course, until next time, know yourself, know your worth.